Welcome, Emilie. Welcome, Rajnish.
Yeah,
Hoon.
truly excited to have this bridge series, which is about bridging the world through tech, the tech ties that bind us, right? And I want to start with Rajnish because I think he is leading the dream life, right? He lives in Malaga and runs the fastest growing OTA in the world's fastest growing market. I don't know how you manage it, but let's look at the tech ties that bind us, right? What are the lessons in innovation that's happening in India that you think could apply to Europe, or is India so hyper-specific that nothing you do could apply here?
Interesting question. So I think there's some stuff which is really generic that applies everywhere. And I think one of the things that we are extremely obsessed about is the use of AI in everything that we do. Like, just about general efficiency of everybody inside the organization. There's a team dedicated to making sure that everybody is more efficient inside the organization, whether it is people, engineers who are coding, or HR or finance. And then there's a team which takes care of making sure that our customer support is extremely leveraged as a team. And so today, we are able to kind of power most of these chat messages, like 92% of them are fully automated. Voice agents are handling 45, 50% of our voice call in a fully automated fashion. I think these are some of the things that are universal trends. It has nothing to do with India, and I think everybody can do and apply them. But I think some of the nuances of running a business in India are just how segmented or fragmented the customer segments are in India, and how nuanced you have to have your app to deal with that. So we created a very unique strategy called...
So we're going to get into that more
Yes.
specifically, into the specific nuances of the Indian market later in the conversation. Yeah.
So, Emilie, I wanted to just start broadly speaking. So, what's the coolest tech headline, story, or innovation that's gotten your attention in recent days, and why should we care?
Even if we were requested not to talk about AI anymore earlier
We've
this
already
afternoon,
heard it twice. We didn't hear it on the entire last panel.
I would pick up the push of AI provider and mainly OpenAI to move from a voice or text or vision interface to a multimodal interface, mixing all of them together in the same flow. I think that we shall be very cautious and take care a lot of that, because this is another next step in how we are going to interact with those AIs and how they're going to feel like being human in the relationship that we may have with them.
Right, so we're in the chat conversational phase and move beyond that into multimodal.
Yeah, it seems to be a common thread that's coming through the conversation, but let's get some disagreement here.
Yes, so let's get into something that may divide us, whether you agree or disagree. So at our joint event in Dubai, we had a panel of travel tech leaders make two predictions. One, IT employees will be reporting to HR because managing AI agents will become a core human responsibility. So let's get the audience to agree, disagree first, Siew.
Okay.
All right. Does the audience agree that IT employees will be reporting to HR?
We see a lot of oranges.
We do see a lot of
oranges. Interesting.
How about you, Emilie, Rajnish? Here, you can vote.
Orange, come on. Yeah,
okay, some disagreement. I love it.
I just did it just to sound different.
But tell us why you would believe something so outrageous.
I think it's not just about HR taking reporting of IT. I just think that a lot of the heavy lifting of the work that's mundane, et cetera, that's happening, repetitive, et cetera, all of that will get replaced by AI and agents, right? Now, in a world like that, the only thing that matters is there's a thin layer of managing these kind of tasks that are running around the organization. And I'm not saying it's going to be HR, but it could be like a small layer of management team which is running everything autonomously, but they're just managing everything. You need human beings to control how things are running, right? But the execution is completely commoditized, and it's happening autonomously, right? And I think that's the reason why I disagreed with that, because I think this is something that's happening, and it's very, very it's very close. It's very, very close.
Yeah, okay. All right, so let's go with the second prediction, which is a world of zero-click interfaces and agent-based operations. And the prediction was that the ad world is about to die, right? And basically, it will be conversational commerce that's coming. So let's go to the audience. Agree or disagree? A world of zero-click interfaces and agent-based operations. So we see a lot more blue.
Yeah.
Any disagreement out here? Okay, you're not going to be disagreement. Okay, so how do we design? How are you thinking about designing for a world without a device then? Yeah. Emilie, yeah.
Okay, I'm starting. I think that theoretically, and if we design a world where we have no more clicks and no more taps, we are moving in a world where we have to take care about signals. So signals being location, being voice, being emotion also, and how do we capture all of that to push the right product at the right time to the right person. I think that this is the design thing that we must take care when thinking about inspiration. But nevertheless, we currently today yet are not really there, not there, for two main limitations at least, and one which might be a bit more present in Europe than it might be in other areas of the world. Because the first limitation I think that we have relies on data. And what we really know about people and about what they want and about what is their lifestyle and how's their life, and so how do we personalize that experience? So that might be one of the reasons why many brands who are not only doing travel, or brands who are doing travel are looking at doing something else to get more information and more data on their customer and to push them a more personalized experience. Right. And the other limitation I see is that we need to think about how we are going to solve any tension that we have today between being inspirational and being personalized without ruining decades of experience in being reliable in the checkout flow.
Right. Okay.
And this is something that is probably, to my opinion today, the biggest challenge that we have in terms of designing new patterns. How do we bridge the inspiration and the reliability in the checkout booking?
So Rajnish, do you think that we in Asia will get there sooner? Because in India, you've got a very young population, all very tech savvy, and we may be not so limited about the rules of privacy. Do you think we'll get there first? How are you thinking about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've seen Indians leapfrog from desktops to mobiles directly, right? Because a lot of people who were the next billion audience, they never saw a computer. In fact, they started their internet journey with a small screen, which is mobile. So I think the adoption will be not that big a challenge. I think that this is more about a more intuitive user interface that we are talking about. Because if you think about the zero-click interface that we are talking about, we still live in a world where there are hundreds of clicks and dozens of drop-offs that happens from a funnel, right? Yep. You know, even if you go to book a flight, international flight, and you see a 30-minute layover, you don't know whether it is enough to do a terminal transit or not. And if there's an 8-hour layover, you don't know whether that would require a transit visa or not. There's so many questions people have in their head while they're in the funnel. They need to drop off the funnel to ask those questions to a friend or to AI or anything. All of those things will get neatly integrated inside the funnels, but the funnels still need to be multimodal. I mean, voice as an interface, conversational is great, but you cannot book a hotel without seeing an image. So ultimately, I think the user interface of the apps, they'll have to work in tandem with the conversational interface, and the conversational interface should be able to highlight the right information within the app and should just work like one system, right? And I think that is the future, and needs to be extremely preemptive. It should know what you want even before you want it, and it has to be hyper-personalized, which is what the memory in AI is all about, right?
Okay.
So we're seeing some themes coming up, multimodal, you mentioned, or that orchestration layer is really critical. Emilie, is there any other predictions beyond, we've talked about a world without device. Anything else that you'd like to predict here as we look forward?
And we can get the audience to agree or disagree. Make one prediction.
I'd like to predict or maybe hope that we will use AI more as an assistant to co-create things and to make, rather than to take over our process of decision making. So maybe keep AI as and as developing it as a wonderful enhancement for human being rather than taking over our human judgment. So,
who thinks AI is going to take over human judgment? Well, we're about mixed, so that's kind of a scary proposition.
Scary, scary.
So Rajnish, make an outrageous prediction here.
Sorry?
Make an outrageous prediction here.
Make an outrageous prediction. The outrageous prediction is that I think almost everything will be replaced by AI. Not just like the white-collar jobs, but even the physical work that we do, which is probably a few years away, because I think robotics will take some time for the supply chain to build, and I think we will not have 1 billion robots in some time. But I think most of these things over a period of time will get replaced by AI.
Right, manual labor even, because
Even
you were
manual.
quoted in the media
Yeah.
as
Not
saying
just
that,
white collar already is
Okay.
happening as we speak. Like
yeah,
we've seen
manual
all that.
labor. Okay.
So Emilie, let's get into some specifics about your business, which consists of a direct-to-consumer site, Mr. Fly, but you're using this really as more of a testing environment, as well as your primary business, which is B2B technology and tools that you sell into other companies to help them deliver travel. What's the most exciting product innovation that you're working on?
One of the most exciting product we're currently working on would be, I would pick up something, how we are moving the hotel booking engine for our partners. We're having it shift from searching to listening, probably before, I guess, early Q4, maybe end of Q4. That means that we will understand what the consumer wants and try to analyze and make that into structured data to search into. We will search into available hotels and create no more sorting, but an affinity score versus what the consumer is looking for.
So is this done through explicit, check boxes or more?
No. The thing is that we are shifting to, okay, let's tell us or write us what you want in a natural language way, and we are going to work on that and to interpret that. Let me give you an example and create dynamic research tools. For example, if we talk about location, instead of using radius distance from POI, we are going to dynamically create research polygons from what the customer says, which might be, for example, I want a hotel close to a park where I can run in the morning and close to the exhibition of Bottega. And so we dynamically interpret that, create a research polygon, and then we are going to, not to sort, but to create an affinity score from that and other things that the customer may have said. To create a scoring and to have a proposition of hotel and tell the customer, okay, here is how those property fit from 0 to 100%. Of course, we will sort them at the end by the scoring, but it's like more replace filtering with a
Curation.
Co-creation process. Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay, so Rajnish, after 18 years, a very grueling, arduous 18 years, great success with the IPO, fantastic, and record-breaking year last year, and first quarter, I think this year, amazing, right? So, but I was speaking to a couple of investors last night over tapas and red wine, right? And they were saying, yeah, India's hot, but it's such a crazy market. It's so big, it's so fragmented, so many languages, so many cultures, right? So, but people are looking at India. So what's your advice to people who want to get into India now that they've been thinking about for the last 10 years? Is this the right time?
Sure. Thanks for the 18th, recognizing the 18th anniversary. In fact, it's like in a couple of days, I'm flying back to celebrate that with the team, so that's going to be awesome. Yeah, I mean, I generally say India is not for beginners when it comes to any question about India. And to some extent, it's true, but I think it comes back to understanding the nuances of working with different kind of target audience. You know what? For us, one thing that worked and which was very unique was this house of brand approach that we had, which was kind of identifying very unique use cases and then building apps around those use cases. And the reason why that worked is that we could have just had one app and then put everything inside it. But when we looked at trains as an audience, only 4% people fly in India, right? But there are 22 million people taking trains every single day in our country. And it's massive. The scale of trains is much, much bigger than flights. And the problems that people face in India on train side is really, really big. So when we started, we had people who had really cheap Android devices. They had not enough memory on their phone. Their internet access was not ubiquitous. And there were so many such problems. And they did not know how to speak English. Obviously, they can't even read English, right? So we had to build an app which was extremely small in size, like less than 10 megabytes. It had to be translated in 8 different languages. It had to work without internet. So we were able to kind of do train searches and show schedules of like hundreds of thousands of train routes in India without internet, which was a compressed database inside a less than 10 megabyte app, right? We were able to then, India trains are not GPS equipped, which means that you cannot figure out where. The joke is that even the driver of the train doesn't know where the train is when it's in the middle of nowhere. So the driver of the train was caught using ixigo's app to locate the train. No, it's not a joke. It was on a blog somewhere I read. So we used a technology like Google Maps to kind of crowdsource location info from these devices of people, and then we were able to pinpoint the exact location of a train. And not just that, we figured out internet was a problem, GPS was a problem. So we then kind of crowdsourced every cell tower database in the country of all telecom networks, and we bundled them inside the app, mapping every train station with cell towers. So you can turn off your internet and your GPS, and you still be able to locate in real time. And that was like magic. Like when users experienced that, this was a true moment when you're sitting inside a bogie of a train in India, and then you had the location of the train, and everybody asks you, how did you find this? And they say, I'm using ixigo's app.
Okay.
And that's the word of mouth, right?
Right. So it really is like identifying unique use cases, and then solve
for that.
Okay. And
no matter
that's
what,
really
right?
good.
And even if it's not monetizable.
Yeah. Even if it's not monetizable.
Even if it's not monetizable.
Okay. That takes bravery.
So speaking of finding those unique opportunities, Emilie, you mentioned in Phocuswright that one of your biggest challenges is identifying and prioritizing the right investment opportunities. Europe is a big fragmented market. You've got a growing team, but you've got to prioritize. So what are those factors that are helping you prioritize, or what's on the list? Are you looking at more kind of back office efficiencies? Are you looking at more front end kind of tools that you can offer your B2B2C partners? So how do you prioritize that?
The thing is that post-COVID, we've worked a lot on automation, and so we've reached a point where we already have very high percentage of customer touch which are fully automated. We fulfill all the bookings that we serve for our clients, so automating everything was really key into being able to scale the platform. So this is what we did first. Yeah. So we are not done, because AI offers more opportunities to automate things that we thought we could not automate like 6 or 7 months ago. So we're still doing that, but I would say this is more like business as usual now. So we are now clearly prioritizing on how are we going to provide new tools to our partners and have them and being able to scale on a more global European geographical areas. So looking at geographical complementary opportunities. And in addition to that, how are we going to have our front ends change to be able to use the data from our partners, because things are coming from here as we are powering other brands. How do we power and how do we help them powering the data?
So you're working with partners to help prioritize their data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So continuing on from that point of investment, right? I mean, for you, you've gone IPO, and so people are looking for the next rocket booster for ixigo, right? And you've talked about how AI right now, 90% of the work is really done. Like everybody can build on top of this 90%. So it's that 10% differential that's going to get you somewhere, right? So how are you thinking about it? What's the next rocket booster for ixigo, and how would AI play a role in giving that lift?
Yeah, so I think trains, we've this whole strategy of kind of solving for customer pain area helped us build massive distribution on train side. And then we were able to monetize on that distribution, which is a story which is very similar to how most large internet companies are built and continues to be built, right? Even OpenAI is an example of that. I mean, I don't think OpenAI makes money by generating Ghibli images, for example. But they would make some money in the future, obviously, with these subscriptions. So that paid off, and I think that is already on a rocket ship. We are almost like 60% market share of OTAs on trains. The second player would be like an order of magnitude smaller than us. Our next growth is not going to come from there because even the market is not growing that fast. We were really behind in terms of buses and flights, and I think those are the two segments which are growing really fast for us. And the reason is that there is this massive investment in infrastructure that has happened in the previous years. Roads are much better, so buses have become a viable option for people to take. In Europe, this is one difference I find. Europe, train flights and buses are fungible in terms of comfort, price, etc. Totally fungible. You can replace one with the other. Whereas in India, it's not the case. Flights are very expensive, trains are very cheap, but very uncomfortable, very long, slow trains because they are fast trains. So all of these investments are happening on flight side where a lot of new airports have opened under the Udan Phase 3 project, where there are airports now in Tier 3 cities, like one of the biggest religious destinations in India. They all now have airports like Prayagraj and Ayodhya, etc. So that has kind of fueled a lot of flight growth. And also this premiumization trend, which is basically forcing, it's basically the consumer trend where consumers are moving towards higher price and higher quality products because they want better service, better quality, and better status.
So it's not just price-driven, but value-driven, right?
Yes, more value-driven. So it's also because of this consumer trend of premiumization that we are seeing people move more and more towards flights and buses from trains. So these things are driving massive growth for us on flights and buses side. And I think the final frontier would be, we are still...
Final frontier is outside India.
India is just so big. We had 500 million unique users last year, which is like more than 1/3 of the population of India. If I can't monetize from them, then I don't need to go out of India to monetize.
Absolutely.
But I think that the bigger challenge for us would be hotels, because we have cracked transportation really well. Right. And now we have that growth curve, so the rocket booster would probably come from hotels in the future.
Can we talk social, Pete? Can we talk about social?
We should talk social.
Because ixigo has just launched this AI video commercials that's playing everywhere, and you can't tell if it's fake or but it is definitely AI.
It's fake.
So I heard that 1 in 2 of us already follow an AI influencer. And that video ads, AI influencers have 30 to 35% better engagement. Are you seeing that seeing that in India, and to Emilie as well? What's happening in Europe? Is there a trend?
Do you want to take that first?
Well, the thing is that as we are not a B2C brand, we are not really driving traffic tons from the social. So we're more like looking at how our partners are going to get and to import the data that they can get on the social, and how we provide them with content and curated content so they can improve the interaction that they have on their own social with their clients. Because the specification of what we do is that we don't want to take over their marketing relationship with their client. We power them to offer travel to their client base, and them being still on the ownership on the marketing and the data of their clients, because that is where relies and where sits the value for them. So we power them to how do you leverage the value that you have on the data with your clients rather than directly interacting on their social.
Okay. So, Rajnish?
Yeah, I think content creation has been commoditized thanks to AI, which means that, becoming or creating, any kind of influencer and getting traction on that is fairly easy now because of AI. And I think this trend is going to be secular. I think we've all seen those videos of Will Smith eating spaghetti, how it has evolved, right? And now if you ask Yeoh 3 to do that, you won't be able to distinguish between real Will Smith eating spaghetti or AI generated. It has gone, and I think it's only going to get better and better from here with every passing.
So this is going to be a universal trend as well.
It's a secular trend.
Okay, it's a secular trend, just as AI the use of AI in everything, the use of AI, multimodal universal trends. Okay, shall we do rapid fire? What do you think?
Let's talk about job creation first, because he's talking
Forgot
about
about
500 million
jobs.
people.
Especially in India, where, you still have a lot of poverty, and
Yes.
Philippines, right? Outsourcing, creates account for a lot of the GDP. So how are you thinking about that as a tech leader? Don't you have a responsibility?
So I'm going to contradict myself when I said in the beginning, what I said in the beginning. I think this will make people feel slightly better. I said AI is going to replace everything, and I'm going to now change that statement. I think we are living in one of the most important inflection point in the history of humanity. And this probably will never happen again. And the history says that if you look back at Industrial Revolution and the Internet Revolution in the past, you will see that the bigger the inflection point in technology, the bigger the opportunity of new category of job creation that happens. So there will be a lot of new category of jobs that will be created. Obviously, there are old kind of jobs that will get replaced by those jobs, but the number of new jobs that will be created will be more than the number of old jobs. And also realize that the new jobs will be far more interesting and creative and less mundane and less manual than the previous jobs. Hope that makes everybody feel better about it.
All right.
All right, Emilie, real quick before we get into rapid fire, as I was looking at your business and the culture that you've built, one of the values that you cite on your website is pleasure is part of your culture, and your employees have to buy into this. So every travel company should have pleasure listed on their site as a core value.
I'll do that right away.
So how has this worked? I mean, you scale across different markets. I think you've got 5 offices across markets. So,
Well, my answer might not be in the mood of that discussion this afternoon, but reality is that when it comes to culture, it comes to people, and when it comes to people, it comes a lot from the time that we spend together. So, of course, we have a lot of digital tools, and we push AI and our teams to use AI to get rid of anything that is not driving and creating value. But reality is that what makes the glue of our culture, and mainly when we talk about how we have pleasure to be together, it's on investing time and the moment that we create all together.
I think that's great.
Okay, so rapid fire. Okay, so Rajnish, just as you went for somebody's business 18 years ago, somebody's coming for your business. So if you could build one startup today, what would it solve?
I'll do health tech because I think we know less about our bodies than we know about our cars.
Okay.
All right, Emilie, the next gen travel app must have what?
Context awareness, of course.
Okay. Rajnish, one legacy system you wish you could erase forever.
Maybe some ERP system like SAP, etc. I hate to use them.
Say that louder, please.
Emilie, OTAs, DMCs, airlines, or hotels, who needs a tech reboot the most?
Definitely hotels. Great at welcoming guests, but mostly terrible for tech.
So Rajnish, other than India, the next travel unicorn will come from which country?
Oh, you said other than India. I was going to say
Other than India.
It's easy to guess.
Huh?
I think it could come from anywhere because I think everything is commoditized now in terms of access to technology, etc. And so there could be a bunch of 18-year-old kids, sitting somewhere in some country, maybe in Malaga.
Malaga.
All right, last one. Emilie, who will win the future of travel, platforms or communities?
That's difficult. I would say communities.
Communities.
Do you have a different answer?
No,
Okay.
I think community will definitely be bigger.
Fantastic.
Great. Ladies and gentlemen, please thank our panel, Rajnish and Emilie.
Thank you.